Oh yeah! UFC 275 pre-fight Q&A, baby, starts now! Ugh.
That is just such a happy song for a number of reasons. Not just because UFC 275 is going down today, but it was a big win for all of us at Vox Media today. We all came together. We made some things happen. And now we are loose as a goose and we are ready to party, everybody. UFC 275 kicking off at around 45 minutes from right now. And we will be here with you until the first fight begins. Thank you for joining the People's Pre-Fight Show. I am Mike Heck with my Glover Teixeira, shaved head, ready to go. There's Jed Meshew with the Jiri Prochazka top knot.
Look at Casey, you got to drop that, baby. Come on. Let the people know.
Look at that. How many bands do you have in there?
So many.
Like wrapping that all together.
This was incredibly. You guys all like hit me up like, where are you? It was like, I was actually have spent the last 15 minutes trying to figure out how the hell he does it. So
unbelievable. Yes, I'm pulling double duty here, co-hosting, bringing up the questions, the ones and twos. Casey Leydon! What's up, buddy?
Fight day, fight day, fight day. Woohoo! Yay!
Yes.
Exciting.
The martial arts are about to be mixed in a fun and effective way.
So mixed.
So mixed. And this is your show. This is the People's Pre-Fight Show. And we call it that for a reason because all we do is respond to your comments, the positive ones. We answer your questions about this fight card. And Jed has his hand up. Go ahead.
So I know that all we do is answer the people's questions, and we got to get to that. But Mike, I owe you an apology.
Ooh.
And I wanted to start there today because I've wronged you. And I am very, very sorry about wronging you, my good friend Mike, who selflessly stepped up to co-host No Bets Barred this week. But you may have noticed the top knot. And you might be thinking to yourself, Jed, why would you be wearing a top knot when you're a Glover guy? I talked you into being a Glover guy. And I'm not a Glover guy anymore. And I'm sorry about that, Mike. I didn't mean to betray your confidence like that. But I was listening to the MMA fighting preview show yesterday, and I was struck by something, and I'm really sad. But here's what's happening. I'm on Jiri's side now. I think Jiri's going to win this fight. I still have my bet on Glover. I probably should put a bet on Jiri by KO just to give myself a little hedge. When I was listening to the preview show yesterday, I don't remember if it was you or Jose or Sean, whoever said something that made me realize that I had been in error. And what they said was this: I've had Jiri ranked number one, and I've thought Jiri's going to win. And I too have had Jiri number one. And then I thought back to why I had Jiri number one. And I remembered it was for a really good reason. And that reason is I don't want to live in a world where Corey Anderson is the best light heavyweight in the world. And if Glover goes out here and beats Jiri, I'm going to have to put Corey Anderson as my number one light heavyweight next month's rankings. And I don't want to do that. And that's just it. Like, I don't want to be that guy who says that Corey Anderson is the best 205. That does, I don't even want to finish the statement. So, and I'm not even kidding at all. Like 94% of the reason I had Jiri ranked at number one was because I did not want to put Corey Anderson at number one. And so I'm going to ride that pony, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. We're going to find out in a few hours time, but I have to abandon the Glover bandwagon. I wasn't on it nearly as long as you, just a few days. It was basically a bus, just hopped on the bus for a little bit, got a few stops up the road, but I'm backing out now. I'm team top knot because I don't want Corey Anderson to be the best fighter in his division in the world. And I think that that's a fair reason.
Okay, I have just so much to respond with.
Bellator's own Corey Anderson.
Yes. First,
look, I know, and that's why I led by apologizing. I know I have wronged you, and I'm sorry.
So if I didn't just, and I don't know why I did this yesterday, but if I didn't go off on that tangent about how everybody has these fighters ranked at 205, you wouldn't have made this. You wouldn't have made this choice.
I would not have made the logical connection because honestly, I totally forgot because everything I've said this week all stands true. Like, I totally understand where you are coming from. I think stylistically, our breakdowns that we've done so far, like, it all makes sense to me. But at a very baseline level, when you made, I was like, oh, that was the reason I put him there. I can't back out on that now. And there is also something to be said that Jiri is like the best athlete in this division and really young. And like, there's a world where he just annihilates Glover. And it's like, and then we all feel stupid where it's like, oh yeah, obviously the young, hyper athletic, hyper violent guy just blew the doors off the 42-year-old old men. But that's not it. The reason is entirely because you made me remember why I did it in the first place. And I'm going back to my guns because I don't want to put Corey Anderson at number 1. Just don't want to do it.
But here's point number 2. If you went with Glover and he tackles Jiri and submits him in the first round, like I've been saying he will do, why can't he be the number 1 guy? With 7 wins in a row, 6 finishes, a championship win against who was the number 1 guy, and then beat a guy who you had ranked number 1 not long ago. That's done good enough for him to be your number 1 guy. You can't put yourself in that mode, really?
No, because Corey Anderson kind of dusted him up, and probably would again. And if Corey Anderson went to Bellator and wasn't fighting any other good opposition, then I could at least make the argument, even though I would still feel a little weird inside. But like, Corey Anderson just kind of beat the hell out of Vadim Nemkov, who I'm incredibly high on. And like that, had he won that fight and not, had what happened there, he probably justifiably should have gotten my number 1 ranking. But because he's Corey Anderson and because of how that ended, I just didn't want to do it. I still don't want to. But if Glover goes and beats Jiri, great. I won't be sad because who's against Glover Teixeira as a man? I won't be. I just can't. With my pick tonight and the one I did on our MMA fighting internal predictions, I swapped it this morning when I was listening to the preview show for exactly the reason. And that is not a joke at all. I was listening. I was like, oh, because I think it was Sean who was you were like, Sean, you've been a guy who says has Jiri ranked number 1. And I was like, oh, so am I. Why did I do that? Because I do think Glover can and may well beat him.
I think he has Anderson at number 1.
He might have Anderson, but like he had Jiri for a while before. I think he did. I think he did Anderson after the Nemkov thing, because there were a few of us on Jiri, and I just started thinking. I was like, oh, the reason I had Jiri at number 1 was because I didn't feel great about putting Glover at number 1 either, and I really don't feel good about putting Corey Anderson there. Jiri is a nice, like, kind of common, like he's a happy medium. The same way I have Jessica Andrade as the number 1 strawweight right now, even though she probably isn't. Just because she lost to Wiley Zhang very convincingly, but she feels like the best dancer at an opportunity here. Felt the same about Jiri, and I'm going to do it again. And it will only be a few hours, because in a few hours, if I regret not being aboard this bandwagon, I will own up to it and say I lost faith, but I'm hopeful that when the sun rises tomorrow, Corey Anderson will not be the best light heavyweight in the world. That is my sincere hope. Also, what Patrick Dawkins says is exactly right. Jiri is fun as hell, and MMA is better if Jiri being weird and fun is our champion and not Corey Anderson is our best 205er. So that's where I'm at, and I'm sorry because it's a betrayal, and I'm so sorry to do it to you, Mike.
All right. I mean, listen, AK is
very objective.
AK's probably failed a certain way. Yes, very objective. All right, let's go to the peeps. We could talk about this for another 35 minutes, but I'm sure there's gonna be questions about this fight, and we will differ, and that's it, and it'll be fun.
How does Jiri keep his top knot up? Because this was at like the front of my head 2 minutes ago, and it has already moved its way back. I guess maybe the shaved head makes it easier.
All right, here we go.
Mamaja, what do you think about the fact Aaron Bronstetter brought up about Glover training with Alex Bejeda and him being able to mimic Jiri? By the way, let me just say this. How many times have
Mike Heck brought that up?
How many times have I brought that up over the last 2 weeks? Multiple times. Yeah. Aaron just woke up today and had that epiphany. Are you kidding me? I've been talking about it for 2 weeks. Multiple shows this week I brought that up.
Aaron, I'm glad that you listen to No Bets Barred. That's a great podcast. You should keep listening to the No Bets Barred podcast where you can take Mike Heck's well-researched opinions. That's a great idea.
Yes. But yes, that was one. That's another reason why Glover stands out in this situation because, listen, Alex Behead is a little more technical. He is sort of wild. He's not Jiri wild, but he's a powerful, technical, but can be chaotic at times striker. That's a pretty damn good guy to have in the gym before you're fighting Jiri Prochazka. It's very tough. You cannot mimic what Yuri's going to do. You cannot necessarily prepare for what Jiri could do because he's so unpredictable. But having Alex Behead at your side, Jed, not a bad guy to have in there when you're trying to fight somebody like this guy.
No, it's everything I said. Everything I said stands true. From a skill breakdown, it all makes sense. The case is there. I still think the odds are wrong. This should be a closer, the odds should be closer. But I'm picking with my heart, and my heart says no to Corey Anderson. And I want to be clear, people, if he was still beasting 25-8, I would be the biggest Corey Anderson fan in the world because that was the most fun nickname of all time. But as soon as he swapped it to overtime, I hate him forever. And that's it. I'm going to hate him forever. Just ruined his career by swapping one of the best nicknames to an awful one. So
and
I hope I don't have to put overtime
bowed
into one light heavy.
Public pressure just because a couple of dorks on Twitter told him it was a dumb name. It's like, no, 25-8.
That was actually just the best nickname. It was so good. How often do you beast? 25-8.
25-8.
That's how often I beast.
I thought I only beast 24/7. I'm way behind you.
You are. I aspire to take at a 25-8 rate, but my hot takes can't even be that. He was beasting at that level, and now he's just not.
I remember interviewing Lauren Murphy like 5 years ago. She hated that nickname so much. She basically cut a promo on the nickname. It was like literally the funniest thing I've ever heard a fighter say. I don't remember exactly what she said, but something about, I don't even know how it came up, but she started talking about, I think we were doing like a fight picks show or something, and Corey was fighting, and she basically said, like, I can't pick him because of the 25-8 nickname. And then she went on a 3-minute tangent about how it was such a dumb nickname, with lots of expletives. This is fire. But yes, I agree with you. 25 decent 25-8 is way better than overtime.
Yeah. I don't even feel a little bit bad that Lauren Murphy got absolutely obliterated by my girl Valentina Shevchenko, because she has bad takes, because that nickname rules. Ruled. RIP nickname.
Yeah, because clearly, I mean, if Lauren didn't do that interview where she disparaged, Corey Anderson, she would have obviously beaten Valentina. So, but hey,
probably.
Look,
it's butterfly effect is a wild thing, Casey. Who knows what could happen?
All right, here we go. I didn't know this.
That's a nice wrinkle. Joseph Bose, I saw a stat on UFC Live the other day. If Jiri pulls the upset, he'll be the 8th guy. Yeah, it's not an upset at all. Right. He's the heavy favorite.
Yeah, he's minus 200 favorite.
But
yes, he'll be the 8th guy to win a title in less than 3 UFC fights. First, it's Brock Lesnar in 2008. How crazy of a stat is that, Casey?
First since 2008 is really interesting. I'm sure of those eight fighters, I mean, how many of those came within like
all of them had to have been early UFC.
Yeah, the early,
because they were just rocking dudes in.
Like, so I mean, last
Maurice
guy,
Smith,
Anderson.
So Anderson's probably there's like Anderson, then Brock.
Anderson was probably the one right before Brock from the top, because Anderson was 06. 06 was his.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Anderson got it in the second fight, right? He came in and fought Leydon, and then he got the title fight. Chandler could have done it.
No, Chandler had a chance.
He had a chance. But that's really interesting.
Honestly, I wonder if I could do this off the top of my head.
You trying to name the 8?
Yeah, I mean, that would take too much time for this, but like Maurice Smith, because I'm just going chronologically. Maurice Smith is 100% one. Brock Lesnar's obviously one.
Name the one before Anderson. How about the one before?
The one immediately before Anderson is going to be harder than going front to back or back to front, I think. I mean, because it's not like, because a lot of the other welter divisions just had long reigning champions, so they didn't swap out. Like Matt Hughes held the belt for a lifetime, So it had to all have been like heavies.
Yeah.
Josh Barnett, did he have multiple in the UFC before he won the belt? I'm not even sure that he did.
Do we count the WEC guys?
Oh, that's a really good wrinkle. Well, technically, Jose Aldo never won a UFC title. Like he was promoted from an interim champion or a WEC champion. He actually never won a UFC belt.
So
Ronda actually would have for sure been one because
I guess she
that
count. Like,
she didn't. They came in and fought for a belt. They didn't give her one, did they?
Yeah, and no.
No, she didn't. She had a fight for it. I think it was
It was
the
her-
inaugural title.
But
wasn't.
I don't really count it because that means Liz could have won it too. I mean,
Well, yeah, Liz could have, but Liz
when it's
didn't.
inaugural, yeah.
Oh well, Carla was inaugural. So actually, Carla is more recent than Brock Lesnar.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we're counting inaugural belts.
Well, they can't be because Carla is more recent than Lesnar.
Yeah, you got to count Montana.
She was Nico Montano.
Nico too.
Yeah, same thing. So this stat might not be correct.
Who took it from
Nico beat Roxanne because it was supposed to be Nico versus.
Then he got vacated in the Valentina one, right?
Yeah.
And Valentina had lots of fights already. See, I don't think
Cyborg. Also Cyborg.
Oh, Cyborg.
Did she have?
No. She had those freaking 40 fights. She had those one. Remember
she didn't have that many.
That was her third, though, wasn't it? Wasn't that the third fight?
I think she had two, and then her third fight. Well, this does say less than 3, so that fits.
All right.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, how about this? Is there anyone on the
But Yuri wouldn't. But Yuri, this is Yuri's third UFC fight.
Yuri's third, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would go. All right. Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
This also wouldn't be less.
3 or less.
Yeah. 3 or less.
Yeah.
But the question I really want to ask is there anyone on the roster who can do this again?
Well,
that potentially
no, because if they're on the roster, they probably already have more fights than would make this.
It's like I'm thinking like if someone like Manel Cape
Alex
came in and won his first. Oh yeah, Pahea. Yeah, you're right.
Like
he's already had 2 fights.
About to. Let's say he's about to have his third.
Yeah.
He's a guy who could have been in this conversation given very specific circumstances. But like, no, the people who are most likely going to do this, Yuri's even weird because it's kind of just 205's weird at this current time.
Timing's everything.
Because it's not like Yuri came in as like long reigning. Like he did, he had some hype from Ryzen, but it's not Michael Chandler from Bellator hype, you know?
Yeah.
So Kayla Harrison would be like the next person who could probably do this because she'll fight for a belt in her first fight. Maybe, honestly, not even AJ McKee since she just lost to Pitbull. Like, it's tough. It's a really narrow group in modern day UFC for this sort of thing to happen.
I have one, Jed. You'll like this one. Danny Sabs.
Get him. That's a long time off.
Yeah.
I'm also not confident in that, but it'd be funny.
All right.
It would be funny.
Another Mr. Boza.
I'm a huge Valentina fan. Will the fight mileage catch up to her? This is now 10 of her last 11 fights. She's been scheduled for 5 rounds. Jed, I'm going to let you take this one because I think I already know your answer, and I just want to hear it now as we're just hours away from this fight.
Well, at some point it won't hear. I was actually thinking about this very thing earlier today because at some point time does catch up with you. Like you can't do this forever. But one, Valentina has a lot of fight mileage. She has almost no damage mileage. Like we talked about it on BTL or something this week. Like she's never gotten beaten up in a fight. She's lost a couple, but she's never been beaten up in any of these fights. Like honestly, I think that there's a very real argument that Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang in their first fight, each of them individually took more damage than Valentina has in her entire career combined. Like it's just, she doesn't take a lot of damage, even if fighting for 25 minutes at a time is but naturally destructive to your body. I think she is going to be able to stave this off a lot longer. I would say that she is probably comfortably out of the range of this being a concern for at least another 2 years. I think she's 34 right now. So back into her physical prime, but I think she's at least got a couple more years, and just given her advantages over the division athletically, she's probably okay. But honestly, I don't even think that this will happen at 125. Like there's nobody at 125 that I think is going to pose her problems in the foreseeable future. But if and when she does go get a second belt at 135, I think the women up there hit harder. I think there's more opportunity for mileage to catch up with her there, but I still think we're a couple years off.
Yep. Going back to this, the fact that you said Valentina really hasn't had any quote unquote wars in the UFC. Maybe she has some Muay Thai ones that we just aren't aware of, honestly, because we just don't have the footage of it. But
Yeah, it's
do you think
possible.
that's what holds her back? And it's not her fault, but holds her back from becoming kind of like this star. Because
You
think
know?
about Anderson, Aldo, all these greats. They even all of them still have these kind of wars, and fans. I don't know. They feel like they like that. Like that's what I think has
It
worked
would help.
Demetrius. I think it's worked Demetrius when he was champ. He didn't, other than the John Dodson fight, which people don't really consider that really a super close fight, even though that was actually a really good fight, the first one I think.
Uh, Yeah, the
Valentina's
second one
never
was
had this
much
kind of
less competitive.
yeah, Valentina's never had this kind of back and forth battle where we go, oh, she's a real fighter. Because it kind of is this big pet peeve of mine when in the third round, when this guy's getting his ass kicked, this girl's getting his ass kicked, the commentators are so focused on the person getting their ass kicked, like, wow, that's a fighter. You can tell they really want to fight. And like they're talking more about the person getting their ass kicked rather than the person doing the ass kicking. And I feel Valentina kind of runs into that because she's just so dominant. There's nothing really for, you know what I'm trying to say here?
I get what you're
Yeah,
saying. I think that probably plays some small part of it. I honestly think that, I mean, Anderson has always been the corollary to Valentina to me. Because Valentina is so focused on counter striking in the same way Anderson is, the entertainment value of her fights are largely dependent on what her opponent is willing to suffer to do so. If someone's going to bite down the mouthpiece and try to fight her, they're going to get hit a lot more and it's going to be much more entertaining. Or if they're going to,
Liz Carmouche.
or if they're going to Damian Maya, that sort of game plan,
Yeah.
it's mostly just going to be her controlling distance and countering with minimal opportunities. Although recently she has also realized that she's actually can just beast mode the hell out of everybody and grab double unders, trip them, and just elbow their faces off. So that adds a little bit more. But we used to talk about this with Anderson all the time. Anderson wasn't a star because the fight with Chael Sonnen was an epic comeback, and he delivered highlight reel KOs. He was a star. He became a star because Chael Sonnen blew him up, and you need a rival to
Mm-hmm.
sell a story, even if that rival isn't ultimately like that competitive. But like what Daniel Cormier did for John Jones's career, I don't think can be understated. John Jones comfortably won their two fights. Obviously, one of those wins got overturned, but John didn't come, he wasn't really at risk of losing those fights. They were good fights, but it didn't matter. It was everything else that built this up. And Valentina doesn't have that because I'm sorry, nobody's that interesting at flyweight. I think AK said it on the preview show. I think 125 gets wildly overlooked as far as it being a very good division because
Absolutely.
Valentina is so much better. But I mean, hell, Sean was just like waving off a win like a dominant win over Caitlin Chikagian, as if Caitlin
Yeah.
Chikagian hasn't beaten the shit out of maybe beaten the shit is a strong word, but hasn't comfortably defeated every woman alive at her weight class that isn't Valentina and Jessica Andrade. Like, I think 125 is a much more competitive and good weight class. It's just that there's one person at the top, and we see the same thing in like 205 right now. John Jones was obviously that dude. John Jones left, and now there's parity, and so it looks weird when you don't have that kind of person over top and not really smothering the division because the division is still good and growing and thriving, but it just sort of is what it is. Valentina just needs somebody who will talk a bunch of shit and be good. Like Joanna was probably her best chance for that. And they fought, and then Joanna went back to strawweight. And there it is.
And even
Yeah,
that
I
fight.
feel
Yeah.
I also feel fans learn from their mistakes with the DJ thing. You know what I mean? I think I think most fans have learned to appreciate greatness
I think
along the
there's
way
more
after
love for
DJ
Valentina
left.
than DJ had. I also think that
100%.
there's more people are like in on Valentina than they were on DJ, and which is insane because DJ freaking ruled. But it is what it is.
Yeah. And I also think that if Valentina wanted to be a giant megastar in the sport, she probably would be. But I don't think she cares all that much about that.
I think you might be right. Also, it can't be understated that the UFC sucks at their job, which is ostensibly promotion,
Promotion.
because DJ is a promotable fighter. There's a reason one championship was like, sure, we'll take him. And I'm not saying that they've done a great job promoting him. I am saying he is an engaging, charismatic dude who speaks to a large portion of the population, and you could have done something with him. But the UFC looked at him and said, you're very small. No, thank you. Do you like There is no reason on planet Earth that Valentina Shevchenko is not the next Bond girl. Just put her in a James Bond movie and let her be a star, because she is the closest thing you have to a lock to retain her title, and develop her in that way. She is wildly engaging, has a ton of different interests that she excels at all of them at, and you could promote her. You can't make her Conor McGregor. I am not saying she's got that to her, but you could do more than they're doing with her. But they don't care. They get $200 million from ESPN every year, and they make a billion profit. They are on cruise control until something makes them do their jobs better, and it's probably not going to happen if we're being honest.
We are kind of hitting that like I do feel we're hitting that era where like, yeah, why isn't Valentina a star like we were doing with DJ? Why, like we were saying the same thing with DJ? Why isn't DJ a star? And I feel the same way with Valentina. Like, is it any possible way that Valentina could ever headline a pay-per-view at 125?
I mean, now, sure.
Just because
Misha maybe.
I think the Misha tape for sure headlines that pay-per-view if Misha beats Lauren, and which probably will. So I think that one for sure. I also just kind of think that they don't care that much anymore, because they don't get pay-per-view buys, so they don't care what headlines pay-per-view. So, but yeah, I think if Misha beats Lauren Murphy, I think they do that before Valentina bumps to 135, and that probably is the headliner for whatever event that fight is on, and we'll probably do okay because Misha Tate is a star.
Yep.
All right. All right, next question.
I kind of don't want, like, I want Valentina to be a star to make like all the money in the world, but I kind of don't want her to be a star because I think what makes her so interesting is like just this mystery about her. She's just so mysterious. We don't know what she's doing right now. She could be thwarting a robbery right now with a mask on, and she wouldn't tell anybody about it.
That's the best part. I think she's a less is more fighter. I think the
100%.
mystery sells her. That's why I still think she could be a star. Like Brock Lesnar was a star and didn't do a bunch of media. You didn't see a bunch of training footage of him. I know we had lots of. I know. Ooh, sorry.
Brock was already a star before he came to the UFC, though.
I know. I know it's not 100% comparable, but you know, I'm trying to say Fedor. How about Fedor? Fedor. Like
I think what Casey's
saying, much Fedor. There's too much Fedor now. It should be like less. It just kind of he shows up, and that's what. Like I have no idea who Valentina trains with. I don't know. Like is she training? I don't know. Is she just
her sister and some other people?
And her sister and that coach of a bunch of guns. It's like that's what's crazy. Like the greatest female fighter we've ever seen. I don't know. Does she train? Is she just doing Muay Thai workouts on the beach? It's amazing. It's just such a mystery.
She just needs to get a flat top like Brock, and then she'll be a star. That's the answer.
Drink that Coors Light. Ooh, if Glover wins, Jed cuts his ponytail off. Are you willing to do that?
No. It's not a. That's just a. Will you do this if X happens? Will you do Y? I need some incentive to make that agreement. Although this at some point is going to go. This is. I don't know how he does this. This is difficult to keep up.
Do you feel it? Like when you turn your head, is it like feel like weight kind of?
No, it's fine now, but I had to use a lot of them, and so like my scalp hurt when I was putting on because I was just trying to get it vertical. I don't know how he gets it so vertical. Really impressive.
Nobody's asked this question, but I wanted to bring it up yesterday in the preview show. Is there any chance Santos is a modern day TJ Dillashaw? When TJ Dillashaw fought Barao, TJ Dillashaw was a massive underdog. Is there any chance we just don't know how good Taila Santos is?
Sure.
I'm trying to sell this a little more.
Here's the thing. You shouldn't have to.
Not sell, but I'm trying to.
Taila Santos is actually a good fighter. And we said on the preview show yesterday, but like she is 19-1. And her one loss was a UFC debut, which, to Mike's point, is maybe questionable about how she's going to do when the lights are brightest, but also is a really explicable loss just in most fighters' career arcs. Hey, this was a whole new thing. It's a very explicable loss. She is a plus athlete for the division. She has some skills everywhere. Like, my issue is I don't see how she can consistently generate a winning game plan. Like, she can have moments in moments because she's not a terrible athlete. She can strike a little bit. She's not an awful grappler. But whoever said it yesterday, like, if you have success, Valentina just takes that away from you. Like, maybe she can come out and I've been doing this thing and it's really effective, and it's a takedown or whatever. She's not going to tap Valentina in the first, and Valentina is never going to give her the avenue of success again. So, because that is what she does. Jennifer Maia had moderate success in the first round, and then Valentina was like, "Yeah, we're never doing that again." Cool, and comfortably won the final four. Like, that's just what she does. She's incredible at adjusting. She has so many skills and tools. And Taila Santos is really good and frankly probably beats most women at that weight class. But she's not like a monstrous hitter, and she's not like a dynamite. Like, she's a good grappler, but she's not like a dynamite grappler or wrestler. So I think the way you're going to have to beat Valentina Shevchenko with some really, really effective offense, because you're like hyper violent offense, because you aren't, again, I do use this all the time with Alexander Volkanovski. He's the house, and over time, in a long-term thing, he's going to win. You have to go all in on one thing, and you have to win in exchange to win the war, because you cannot win the war with little skirmishes. And I don't know of anyone at 125 that can do that. Jessica Andrade was the only person I thought had a chance, and she got dump trucked. Like, that fight was not competitive. So I don't think anyone's doing it. But I do think Taila Santos, after this loss, is going to still be really good in this division, and probably, I think, given kind of where she's at age-wise and her physicality, she's probably going to be the person who steps up and is like, "Hey, you're the new Chukagian," because Chukagian's getting older. And it's like, "Yeah, you're the person who's would-be champion, but for the fact that the GOAT is currently in your division."
Has Valentina had any rematches at 25?
No.
Yet? No.
No.
I'm just interested because I know.
No, because she beat Cachoeira, took the belt, and everything's been the next person.
They haven't. The UFC hasn't, or at least
Chukagian's the only person who could theoretically get one at this juncture, but with Tate, the Tate thing's going to happen, and then she's going to 135. So,
yeah, and not a lot of people have gotten that first Chukagian fight out of their mind. That was a one-sided, absolute thrashing by Valentina. So that's the thing, because like we've seen fighters earn rematches doing less than Katlyn Chukagian has done, but I mean, this is just a one-sided trucking by Valentina. This is not competitive for 1 second.
The Chukagian one, I'm not really interested in the rematch on the Chukagian because I feel it will go the same. The Andrade one, though, I do want to see a rematch eventually, because I do think that was a bad night for Andrade, and a great night for Valentina. I just don't. I think that fight's more. I still pick Valentina, but I think that fight's way more competitive if they fought again. That's all.
If Andrade stayed at 125, she would have eventually gotten a rematch.
Yeah, I forget now.
She dropped back down. That's if Chukagian hadn't gotten blown up by Andrade, she probably would have at this point gotten a second one, even with, because like, I don't know, she's not Robert Whittaker. People don't love her a bunch, and so her beating all the next best people in the division don't matter, because Robert Whittaker also got absolutely thrashed by Izzy the first time, but he won 3 fights and people really like him, so they gave him one back. Chukagian, no one cares about her, and that's how.
But there's also nobody else. You had to give it to him at that point. It's kind of like the situation Max is in right now. You know what I mean?
No, we did make a mistake. Liz Carmouche was a rematch.
I guess that's true.
But a title rematch?
Well,
she hasn't that.
It was still a rematch at 25, though. No, it was probably a rematch at 35.
No, she fought 135 the first time.
Yeah, you're right. The first one was
won on a questionable cut stoppage.
Oh, was that it? I didn't even see the original fight.
The original fight was like some other promotion that you can't find video of it really well, but she apparently won on a cut stoppage because that happened, and that was like the loss for Valentina until the Nunes one.
Yeah. Well, thank you, David, for throwing that in there.
But yeah, good call, David. You are technically correct.
Technically, you are correct.
It was a rematch, but I did think you specified at 125.
Yeah, I did.
Am I crazy, or the judge's emphasis on damage doesn't that strongly favor Wei Li with their power and wrestling versus JJ's volume striking?
Matt, I love that you said, doesn't the emphasis on damage, and then in the next sentence said power and wrestling, as if wrestling is correlative to damage at all. Like, Arguably it should, but I don't think the wrestling is as part of your point is my issue there. Yeah, I I think this fight does favor Wiley Zhang over 3 rounds if they're both competing close to their correct, how they want to fight. I just have a lot of questions about whether Wiley's going to be that way because of the path her career has taken the last couple of years.
Does JJ win that fight against Weili if she doesn't get that giant hematoma on her head?
I don't think so.
Do you think the judges still go with Weili?
I
It was
think
just so freaking distracting. I mean, it's
that
hard.
I think that settled the matter, but I also think that like a lot of Joanna's best stuff was leg kicks in the later rounds because early Zhang did a really good job of just countering leg kicks with right hands. And then Joanna figured out that she can switch her stance and she couldn't just work at range like she wants to in those situations. And I think the judges still would have just been like, well, those leg kicks don't look nearly. It's kind of the same thing. I thought Joanna won the second Rose fight because she kicked Rose's legs an infinite amount of times, but Rose punched her hard in the face, and so that won the judges. I think it's the same thing with Zhang. Like every time Joanna kicks, I think that those are counting because they should, but when she's getting punched in the face in return, I think the judges are just giving that more credence.
Yeah, unless you walk away immediately with a limp, they're not going to count it.
Yeah,
I feel that way.
If you land 100 leg kicks, but there's nothing, like the fighter just no sells it, leg kicks do not count.
Yeah.
If it's not like, ooh, this hurts, I need to switch stances, or there's like a noticeable welt, it just doesn't matter, which is weird. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's definitely true.
I think one of the most undersold strengths that the top fighters have are poker faces. It's such a big thing. Like if you can just hide how much things hurt, because that's all damage is. Damage is strictly how much it looks like it hurts. That's all damage is. It's completely subjective. That's why I hate. It's like we clearly know who wins the fight because of damage. Like no, damage is subjective. It's like you're just guessing how much it hurts. That's all we're doing here. So if you have a great poker face, especially if you can hide how much leg kicks freaking hurt. That's why I thought I was really impressed with Vieira when she fought Holly, because Holly I thought was nailing in the clinch, was nailing Vieira's legs with those low knees, because those knees suck. But Vieira was like no selling him. So, but it still wasn't enough for the judges. But I was really impressed by Vieira's no selling that.
Yeah, I just went back and looked because I was live blogging for one of my old sites. That UFC 240 fight, I scored round 1 for Zhang Weili, 2, 3, and 4 for Joanna. And,
I gave 2 to. I rewatched it again. I gave 2 to Zhang. I gave 1 and 3, 1, 3, and 4. I think to Joanna. No, 1, 3, and 5. I think I gave to Joanna.
Yeah, it was so close. I mean, it was so freaking close.
Every round was tight. Yeah.
Yes. Every round was tight. That's about I haven't rewatched that fight in about a year, but I remember watching it twice within the couple months after the original fight. That was right when pandemic happened, so I had time on my hand. So I was like, I'm gonna watch that fight again.
I have a hot take. That fight's good, but it's not as good as I remembered it being.
Oh, the crowd, but the crowd. The crowd was so hot. That was like one of the hottest crowds.
I did not have sound on, so that's fair because I mostly don't listen to commentary when I'm rewatching fights. But I was rewatching. I was like, "This is good," but like when I rewatched Lawler Condit, like that fight still slaps. I was like, "This fight still rules every time I watch it."
That fifth round,
it's unbelievable. Fifth round's
the best. I think fifth round's the best round of all time. Best round
in
ever.
MMA at 100%.
No issue saying that. Yeah.
The only other one I would say that is in the conversation is that Nick Diaz Paul Daly one, because to me that fifth round rules. Like those are the only 2 in the conversation for me. But I mean, we did damn they were good. A few weeks back for the Lawler one. I rewatched. I was like, this fight still is incredible. And when I rewatched Yang or Weili Zhang Joanna, I was like, this fight's really good and still the best women's fight of all time. But I had much less of the feels than I did watching it, because I remember watching it and be like, well, that's one of the 5 best fights I've ever seen in my life. And it may still be, but it just didn't hit me the same.
I really think it was the crowd. The crowd was just so into it too.
Totally could have been.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotion. Did you think Condit won? You had to think Condit won.
I thought Condit won the night of, and every rewatch since I have been convinced that is at best a draw, and I would have no issues if you called it a draw, but I still think Condit took that fight.
I'm still sad about that, and I
Yep.
love Robbie Lawler as a fighter, but like that was like Condit lost they both lost so many. Like there were different fighters after that fight. Both of
Neither
them.
man was ever the same after that
Nope.
fight. We talked about it a lot, and damn, they were good.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, that fight ended both of their careers functionally. I mean, they kept fighting, and Robbie Lawler's still fighting, and had some good performances, but that ended both of their careers as like legitimate top people.
It was kind of I was talking to Greg Jackson a couple of years later about that fight. I was like, oh my god, that fight was so crazy. And Greg looked at me. He's like, and he was almost like disgusted I said that, because he was like that killed Carlos. He's like as a coach, not literally, but as a coach, that fight was just like they were just horrified by that fight because there was just so much damage took in that fight. And for what?
Carlos kind of has an all-time chin, and his next fight, he admitted to being rocked by Demian Maia.
Yep.
That fight ended his career functionally. It was unbelievable. It's one of the very few fights I've ever seen in mixed martial arts where I was like, oh, those two men literally left a piece of themselves in the cage. That is not like, that's the thing that happens in like the biggest boxing fights of all time. Like Ali Frazier 3, you can like physically see the transformation of what happens to those two men after 14 rounds of just beating the piss out of each other. And you got that in 25 minutes with Condit and Lawler. Best fight of all time. I'll believe that until the day I die, or somebody does something truly impressive.
Yes, sir.
Any prediction for low-key bangers that are overlooked? How about the magic number of 10, a 10-fight card?
Is it really 10 fights?
No, it should be 11. Or did something else drop off today? It's 11.
Oh,
unless
11.
something dropped off.
No, it's 11 fights, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 11's a great
good.
number. I have a new low-key banger, especially since the previous one I picked, though, Mike, you weren't there because the gods decided you didn't get to be on BTL anymore. I previously picked with Joe Selecki. We both decided Jake Matthews, Andre Fialho was great. And that fight still is great. But my low-key banger is now the early prelims main event between Liang Na and Silvana Gomez Juarez, mainly because Liang Na's first fight in the UFC was also like the first fight back with a crowd, and they came out just going gangbusters. But I also just kind of think that's how Liang Na fights. And she's not like great defensively, but she is just going to come forward. And Silvana Gomez Juarez isn't like a great fighter, but she's scrappy enough. I think that fight has a real chance to be.
She can crack too.
I think that fight has a real chance to be absolute barn burner for as long as it lasts. So that's my new low-key banger.
Yeah,
really
that's a good one.
Juarez should have won that last fight. She just kind of got dumb and left that arm in there. Like when she dropped the Dinopolis. Yeah, Dinopolis.
Yeah. I think Liang Na should have won her debut, but she decided to just be way too aggressive, and she burned all of her gas in 4 minutes.
I remember.
Yeah.
That was awesome, though.
First fight should actually be pretty
I
entertaining.
was about to say the first fight, actually.
Jocelyn Edwards, Ramona Pasquale. But I'm going to land on
the rare women's featherweight fight, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those two women are just going to sling, and that's it.
Yeah, Pascal does
I'm going to go with Sangwoo Choi, Josh Kulabao is going to be fun. I'm going to go low-key banger by definition. Steve Garcia, Manashata is going to be my pick for low-key banger. I think we're going to be
talking about that.
Yeah, those two are going to beat the brakes off of each other, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, Steve Garcia is one of those fighters. I realize, I've seen 2 of his fights, obviously, but I don't know who he is. I have to really go back to
this card had a lot of those folks on it where I was like, I don't believe you that this man has fought 8 times in the UFC.
Yes.
I truly do not believe you that what you are telling me right now.
I picked up this guy at the airport. I don't remember him.
Yeah. Like Kyung Ho Kong has fought like I think 10 times or something in the UFC. So, some like very large number. I'm like, that's not true. That's just not true.
And we've seen them all.
Yeah. I've watched every fight in UFC history. And I'm like, that dude, if you told me, I'm like, that dude's never fought.
All right. We're at the 4 o'clock mark.
We're good. We can keep going.
We're good.
We
All right,
we don't
all
even. The broadcast has not even started yet.
All right. Oh man. Look at this. Okay. Complaining.
Sorry, dude. We don't have plans for this. We just go. We just go.
I also took the
right?
first 15 to apologize to Mike, so I don't feel bad about it.
You know,
I don't either.
I get a lot of questions. A lot of these questions are ifs. Like if someone does this, if someone does that. I'm trying to avoid those questions because there's just ifs. I don't know.
Hypotheticals are for cowards.
Yeah,
We're here about facts.
Not too many hypotheticals, guys. I love the questions, but just try to stay away from the ifs.
If I had wheels, I'd be a wagon.
Hey Trumbo, next time you go to a bar and you're drinking with two of your buddies and you're just talking about life, I'm gonna interrupt you when you're 5 minutes into a story and be like, "Move it along, bro. Move it along," because that's how we do things here. We just hit record and go.
I'm not nearly as aggressive as Mike. I take your point, but the other answer here is ask better questions.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to do that, obviously, Trumbo, but just making a point.
Let me see what Trumbo's asked. Some other questions that Trumbo's asked. Here we go.
Maybe he has bad questions.
They're bad questions, but we'll ask him. I'm helping out Trumbo here.
Thoughts on UFC doing a card in Singapore during Pride Week, wearing the Pride T-shirts at a country with notorious human rights against gay people, zero talk of it all. I mean, this is what everybody's here for, right?
Hand up. I have for real did not even think about this at all. It's not a bad question though, Trumbo. It is sort of a bad question in the fact that the answer is the UFC doesn't care, and never has nor will. But that is. My assumption is that they did not even for a minute look at the calendar and think about this. They just owed Singapore a card. This was a gap in the schedule. Plug and play, baby. That's fine.
And credit to John.
Isn't it Pride Month or is it Pride Week?
Pride Month.
The whole month is a month.
Yeah, it's Pride Month. Pride Month.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't wrong or something there. Okay.
What? The week's over and I'm celebrating gay Pride? This is disastrous. John Anik.
I love the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Support them forever.
Yeah, support them forever. So there you go. I guess we can. That was the only question Trumbo asked us.
Were there fighters wearing Pride shirts at UFC events? I haven't watched a lot of the coverage.
John Anik did.
John Anik.
Yeah, good for John Anik. And I guess we'll see if fighters are wearing the rainbow colors because they have that option. I'm not sure if that carries over to this week. But
really doubt that.
Yeah, I really doubt that.
Yeah, I think it does all month long.
It should be. It's a whole month, but I just nobody off the top of my head is like screaming Pride shorts or whatever.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, Trumbo.
We love you, Trumbo.
We do.
I love all people, Trumbo, except for Corey Anderson.
This is an if question. This is an if question, but we'll go and answer it.
He does.
If Andre, okay, yeah. I mean, he'll get deserves. You eliminate that word from your vocabulary, but I would say he actually doesn't. But he'd be very close. But I think the UFC would give him one anyways.
I don't think he deserves a top 10, but I would be more than comfortable throwing him somebody at the back end of the top 15, just given what he's done. Problem is, he already fought a top 15 opponent, though. At the time,
give him Ponzinibbio. That's a fine fight.
Yeah, I think that's
outside the top 15. Good name. That's exactly where you go.
Also, a friggin' banger.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. But I expect, like you, I believe, Jed, I expect Jake Matthews to win this fight. Or at least I don't expect I predict he will win a decision.
I think it's 50-50. Like I could see either outcome, but
he just has to not get knocked out in the first round, and I think he wins. Which is a big if.
If he can just hit a blast double, he'll be okay. We'll see if he can or not.
Hey, listen, Fialho, Kevin Holland's fun. I'd be in on that.
Yeah. Honestly, that fight makes a lot more sense than giving a top 15 guy.
Yeah. That
fight would be incredibly fun. That, and the winner of that gets a top 15 guy. Do that. I support that, Casey. Good call.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Because also,
Kevin's got a tough fight though.
4 times this year.
Tough fight. Yeah, he wants to fight in July. He already wants to fight in July.
But Kevin wants to do. At some point, these two dudes are going to fight because they want to fight so much. So that fight's cool.
Kevin was the original. Kevin was the guy. Kevin was the guy who was fighting every month during the pandemic. So 2 years later, here we go. Get Andre in there. Mr. Pandemic against Mr. Post-Pandemic. Let's go.
Who's Holland fighting next? I forget.
Tim Means.
Tim Means. Okay.
Next week. Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. All right. Yeah. You know what? If both those gentlemen get
they can
out,
do that in July easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got it. Okay.
We can take one more, and then we'll do main card picks real quick, and then the first fight will probably be beginning. So, do you have anything good, or do you want to get right into picks?
I know the answer to this, but we'll put it up here anyway.
Based on what we see to Taila Santos, do you think no, it's not going to happen. She'll fight for a title again. She might even win a title. It's just not going to happen tonight.
I don't think this is
and not while Valentina is a champion.
4 to 5 years either. Valentina just beat Jessica Andrade. Like, I think everyone is underestimating just how damn good Jessica Andrade is.
You know what fight? I think
she perfect game Jessica Andrade.
Yeah. And you can have super exciting, dominant fights from Valentina, and you can have super dominant, super boring fights, and super impressive too, like what she did to Liz Carmouche. Liz Carmouche is an incredibly underrated fighter, and she just shut Liz Carmouche out. Where like we don't, to the point where we forget the fight even happened. You know,
dude, she is a victim of her own success in that way. Like, I've rewatched the Jennifer Maia fight. There's a strong argument that Valentina actually won all 5 rounds, but the first round was just so weird to see her not do everything she wanted to, that even though what Maia was largely doing was holding her against the fence and doing nothing, the commentators like, oh my God, is this going to be an upset? And everyone was like, holy crap. And then it was like, oh no, never mind.
Was Rogan commentary?
I don't remember.
Because it was Rogan. She's like, oh, Valentina's tired. She's breathing like a human.
It was definitely Cormier. And it was just like, it's really tough. Like, sure, it wasn't her best round ever, but she probably did more damage in that round, if we're being honest. So
yeah,
and I bet Maia had to exert so much more energy than we realized just to keep Valentina down.
She burned all of it to hold her against the fence. She's like, okay.
All three judges scored that second round for Jennifer Maia. All of them. No one gave Valentina a round. All right. Main card. Here we go. Jed, we begin with you. Main card opener. Jack Della Maddalena, minus 165. Ramazan Ami, plus 145. Who you got?
I'm taking JMD by or JDM by decision. I don't feel any kind of confident about that pick.
I am going with him. If he follows even like 60% of the Anthony Rocco Martin game plan, he wins by decision. Casey?
I'm going Jack Della Maddalena, because I like saying his name. First round KO.
Damn! Guy never been finished in the UFC. You think tonight's the night. I love it. Yeah. Andre Fialho versus Jake Matthews. I'm picking Jake Matthews via decision. Minus 125. Fialho the favorite. Jake Matthews. I think a lot of people are jumping on board that train. That line is already down to a plus 105. Casey, who you got in that one?
A very not confident Jake Matthews by decision.
Same. We are all agreed on the underdog. Don't feel confident either, but 50-50 fight.
Yeah. Featured bout, the rematch of all rematches, Zhang Wei Li, minus 165. The comeback on Ioana and Jacek is up to plus 145. Casey.
Wei Li, decision.
Jed.
I think Casey has the right answer, but I'm taking Ioana by decision.
Yeah, I take these based on like, here's $20 you have to bet on this fight with the odds. Ioana plus 145. Yep, sign me up for that.
If I'm betting, it's for sure Ioana. If I'm just straight picking, I'm still taking Ioana, but I kind of think Casey's right, and I'm just letting my judgment get clouded.
Yeah. And I think the 3 rounds does benefit Wei Li.
It should. I have
we'll see.
My big thing in this fight is I kind of think with Fight Ready and all that, like, I kind of think Wei Li might come in looking to wrestle because it's 3 rounds, and she's thinking, if I can get a takedown, and that's like the worst thing you can do against Ioana, because she's really good at not allowing you to do that and generating offense while you're trying to tie up. And Ioana won most of their clinches. So if Wei Li just comes to chuck hands, she's going to win this fight. If she tries to do other stuff, she's probably going to lose.
Yeah, that's my concern about Wei Li. Will she overthink this a little bit with 2 straight losses?
Kind of feels like she's going to.
Yeah, but we also have question marks about Joanna. Hasn't fought in over 2 years. Anyone
Could be
going with the
washed.
upset? Anyone go with the upset in the co-main event?
No.
Valentina still minus 630. Taila Santos plus 450.
No, Valentina KO TKO round 2. I think she's gonna clinch her, take her down, and elbow her face in.
Near perfect game. Valentina mercifully stops her in the third. Casey?
I'll give 1 round to Santos.
Decision,
Nice. So
okay.
decision. Okay.
This is 1 round to Santos.
Okay. Will the commentators go crazy for that 1 round?
She will hit Valentina once hard. Valentina will step backwards, and then they will go crazy.
She's hurt!
She will step backwards for 1 step.
And now,
yeah.
for the main event of the evening, for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship of the world, Glover Teixeira, the champion, making his first ever title defense. The plus 175 underdog. He defends against the former Ryzen champion, the Chaos, the Madman, the Primal, and primed Jiri Prochazka. Casey, you're picking Jiri, I would guess, just based on me knowing you.
Yeah.
So why and how and what happens?
I'm going Jiri second round KO. I think Glover's going to look good. I think Glover will get him down. We'll get him in the cage. Jiri won't be submitted. Jiri will get up because he is a strong, athletic young man. And Glover is amazing. But in the second round, Jiri's going to just start spinning around. And he's going to hit him with something. And I've been super high on Jiri for a while now. And this is it. This is the time I think the time off is going to be good for him. I think time off's been good for both fighters, actually. But I think people are overselling. Jiri's gonna get submitted on the ground immediately once he goes down there. I just don't think that's gonna happen. And Jiri will finish Glover with some kind of sort of crazy strikes at some point in the second round. But I think it's gonna be one hell of a 7-minute fight.
Jed.
I'm going Jiri first round KO. I think this will be the changing of the guard moment for this division, at least until such time as Ankalaev gets there. I think the difference is going to be incredibly pronounced very early, and Yuri's going to be able to hit Glover and hurt him. And unlike Alonzo, the other guys that Glover's taken down, Alonzo Minifield, whoever the hell it was, once he's been hurt, I think Yuri's not going to allow him to do so, and he's just going to put in the coffin nails. Jiri KO round 1.
I said this 224 days ago, and I've said it every day since, and I will continue to say it, and I'm going to say it again on this June 11th. Glover Teixeira, first round submission. He's going to hurt Jiri. He's going to tackle him to the ground, and he's going to submit him. I love the confidence in Yuri's explosiveness and his athleticism, Casey, but I just don't see it happening. If he explodes and does Jiri type things off of his back, Glover's so prepared for that, and Glover's going to trap him, and he's done. That's it. So, but again, Jiri, like I've said,
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's fine. No, so the last person that Glover's finished in the first round was Carl Robertson in 2019 of January. So
Carl Robertson also hurt him in that fight, if I'm recalling the correct fight.
But he was also like 42 beers deep the night before, so I'm cool with that. This is a new Glover. This is a Glover who has de-aged himself about 8 years during this streak. He's a very confident man. He was not that guy when he fought Carl Roberson. He is that way, and this is his This is his fight. This is the one that he wants more than anything. He wants this fight. He wanted it after he won the title. He looked at Jiri and said, "Let's go."
Let's go.
Nobody does that. Nobody looks at Jiri and says, "Let's go." He did, and he's going to reap those benefits. He's going to reap those rewards, and he's going to walk out of that ring, that octagon tonight, still the UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. He's going to do it in less than 5 minutes. Let's go! New England, baby.
You just don't like Jiri because you can't do the top knot. That's I don't think we talked about it enough.
Hater.
That's why you were picking against him the whole time. He's flaunting the top knot.
Jiri Prochazka. Listen, Jiri losing this fight is not a bad thing for anybody. Okay, Glover gets the fairy tale continues, right? He retires champion. Maybe Ankalaev beats him. Who the hell knows? But Yuri's going to come back, and the road back to the title is going to be so exciting. He's going to be active. He's going to fight more often.
I hope he's active.
His just road is going to be so exciting. And then once Glover rides off into the sunset, retired, about to make his Hall of Fame speech, International Fight Week 2023, Jiri Prochazka is going to fight for the title, and he's going to win it. So everybody wins. He's still going to be the champion. He's still going to excite us. He's just going to fight more and then win the title next July. So you're welcome, world. All right, we are almost out of the first round of this first fight between Jocelyn Edwards and Ramona Pasquale. This is, I haven't watched a lot of it, but from what I've seen, this is not the low-key banger that we had hoped. But now they're clinching against the fence.
I did not pick this one as a low-key banger. Just so we're clear.
Well, you know, I didn't realize these women are fighting like at 6 a.m.
Ooh, we got some basketballs going, RZ.
What?
No one can be there either. It's
there we go.
The
Kate, is Esther must be watching.
Yeah, Esther.
Nice exchange there, right? They had a good little exchange. I thought.
So let's end this so I can go turn the fights off.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you after the fights. Press conference, post-fight show. Strap in. Get your coffee ready. Get multiple coffees ready. It's going to be a long night. Teixeira, New England, bald heads. Let's go. Enjoy the fights.